Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wookieecast. Today we're here with Jason Fry and Emily Shkoukani, and we're discussing a little bit about their work on the updated edition of Star Wars Complete Locations. I wanted to thank you both for sitting down with us today, and um, and I kind of wanted to get into a little bit of how both of you got into dividing what spreads to work on for that
Sure.
project.
Yeah, I'll let Jason take this one because I feel like Jason's the map person in the room, but I'm just here to support, you know, supplemental things and whatnot. So,
Yeah, there was a bit of a. These books are always interesting because they're kind of like sedimentary layers, if you will. You have like each edition of this book, is reflected, is there obviously, and then so there's always some new stuff, and then there's always a chance to kind of look at what's been done before and figure out like, is it time to kind of bring things into different alignment? So for me, my focus started, I knew we were doing a galaxy map this time around. I mean, previous complete locations have had galaxy maps of various different designs, but I knew we were using the one that originated at Celebration Anaheim. So I was very excited about that and put my hand up for that. And I also thought it was time to update the planet profiles, which by now were drawn from multiple editions and kind of multiple styles and approaches to that. And that's an example of where, while always respecting the work that's been done, it seemed to make sense to streamline those and give them one voice. So I put my hand up for that. And then, there were some things I wanted to see, and there were movies projects I was a little, uh, more familiar with as opposed to less. And so we just kind of divided it up naturally that way. A fun thing working with DK and working with other authors is, I don't think I can ever recall a situation where authors were like fighting over something. Like, people have their favorites, and, they speak up for that, and you let them have it. And I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what your spread you're doing, you're getting to write Star Wars, which is pretty great.
yeah. Yeah, I think that like to what you're just saying, nobody here is like fighting each other for I feel like everyone is like really aware of what everyone likes too. So like we're all like, oh, like, yeah, Pablo let me write about like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Dawn of Rebellion visual guide. And that was really kind of him to set that aside for me just because I like the prequel so much and love those characters. And yeah, similarly, like, I know Jason, I think everyone in the universe at this point knows Jason loves the map and whatnot. So I mean, yeah, like you said, I think we're all just like happy to make each other happy and see how like the Star Wars comes together with that.
In this project, I would love if both of you could say if you had one of your favorite spreads to work on, whether that's an older one that you got to update or a new one that you got to sort of make from scratch.
This was the first time I was working on um like spreads with new art. So like that was really cool for me, I guess. So any of the newer spreads to like actually see them go through the phases of art was really cool. In particular, I thought like Ferrex was really well done. I mean, the detail that they get into this art is incredible. But yeah, I mean, I think my favorite was definitely Vader's castle. I mean, it's such an iconic location. And I feel like it's iconic for like legend, like it's like a legend even in like this world. It's like, ooh, Vader's castle. Like who even knows about it? Like, and then it shows up, here and there now, in canon every now and again. And it's just it's been really cool to see that one like come to life through current fiction and whatnot. And like, yeah, and then so getting to work on the spread was really cool.
Yeah, I really love doing the Corellia chase one. Partly because there was a whole lot of kind of freeze framing the movie and figuring out where they are and trying to make that make sense. Which, I mean, frankly, a whole book of that would be exhausting, but for a spread or two, that can be really entertaining detective work. Um, for that one, there was some really interesting behind the scenes stuff that was able to be dug up, essentially showing kind of the previs of where they would be, et cetera. That's something that is having done a number of these books. That's something that's changed a lot. Is that used to be, it may as well have been in a bank vault, but now there's a lot more openness to sharing it and making it a resource for authors, which makes our job a lot easier. And also for the Corellia spread, I mean, it's a cityscape. I mean, it was full of chances to dork out with little details from new canon and legends and slip in like, American graffiti references and whatever else was on my mind. So yeah, that was a really rich one for me that I really love tackling.
Would you say your approach has changed from writing like a book nowadays versus like the older times when perhaps it was a lot harder to access those behind the scenes information stuff?
I've gotten a lot less show-offy as a lore author, which I think is good. And I honestly wish people had kind of been a little sterner with me in the beginning. Like I think the first time I had a chance to do this, I mean, I was eager to like, show off my master's degree in Star Wars and have all these like little Easter eggs and references, et cetera. And that is super fun, but that's not really what the book is about. Like the way I think about it is, anybody who picks up this book, whether they're, a really veteran fan of everything or whether they're a relatively casual fan who just has seen the movie, like you should want them to finish the book and go watch a movie again or go pick up a High Republic book or whatever it is and just, engage more deeply in Star Wars. And so, now that's the way I look at it. Like, how can you in something like the Corellia spread, how can you, first of all, contextualize that within the movie and the story that it's telling so that it's supporting that and it's making that more fun? And then, if you are doing little pointers, Easter eggs, thinking about what else are they talking about, et cetera. And I mean, look, there's still like a geeky American graffiti reference in there. So, there's a place for Easter eggs. But, really, making people eager to just engage with more Star Wars. I mean, that's the thing that I've learned over time.
It's really interesting. Um, I'd love if both of you could touch on the process of a lot of, so for instance, a lot of the maps such as Coruscant and Naboo had a lot on them. So what was your thought process for where to slide in new information or perhaps remove a couple labels that would be not quite as relevant?
Em, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Coruscant one specifically. So I think we kind of updated the Jedi Temple a little bit and like specifying where certain things are and like how. So for example, the spires of the Jedi Temple, I think we kind of clarified how they function and the councils that they represent and how those councils function. Um, so yeah, I think that. Sorry, I'm losing track of what your original question was, but um,
Just the
I'm
process for
I
updating them with new information, basically.
yeah, I guess like my process is just like I mean Coruscant is I don't know if I wanted to choose Coruscant now because it's just so like iconic and used so much. But the process for at least updating the Jedi Temple stuff was really just like collaboration with Lucasfilm and like making sure that um, I was doing my research on what had been put out since the last time complete locations had come out with regard to Coruscant. And then, like, obviously, that's a lot of stuff. But then also, yeah, like just communicating with Lucasfilm and seeing, like, okay, what is what is important though of all this new information and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, and in that way, like, it's collaborative in ways of like what's what's important to highlight because you want to make sure that the fans are seeing like that thing that they read or that they saw and whatnot, and that's you want to give them that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, settings are so much fun because they've been the backdrop for so much storytelling. So it's generally not, taking something out. That's pretty rare, but it's generally like seeing if you can kind of squeeze in a couple of new things. again, to, to kind of light up a fan's eyes who remembers that story that's being referenced, or, or if not, they go to like Wikipedia and look it up and they're like, oh, I haven't read that. And then hopefully off they go to go enjoy that. So, I mean, Naboo was great for me. I think we only took out one thing. There was a reference to King Varuna, which has been become a little tangled in new canon. So, but it was kind of artfully done, not by me, somebody much smarter than me. I think we changed it to like a previous monarch or something. But again, that's really rare. Like I enjoyed, there's Chuck Wendig's wonderful little salute to Jar Jar in the Aftermath series. And so I placed the Plaza of the Catalan, I think it is, which is where that takes place. And then there were a couple of Clone Wars stories with Padme, so I wanted to call them out. And then, getting a little reference to battle damage, because now we've seen in the High Republic books, we've seen the Nihil actually invade Naboo. So, I mean, that's not changing a lot, but it's just, making an already really rich setting reflect even more of the lore, which is, I mean, just super fun, both as a writer and I hope as a reader.
Sure. Um, we do have one question that we got from our audience, and it's a little bit of a particular one, so I'm not sure if you're able to answer it. But there's a bit from The Rise of Skywalker that featured the wreckage of the second Death Star, introducing a chamber in the Emperor's Tower that, when compared with the Death Star's illustration in the first edition, doesn't seem to exist. So they would like to know how you went about aligning that, if you remember.
Yeah, this was my spread, so I didn't really put anything in the spread that like explains, why it looks this way or why it might look different from what was in the first edition. Um, I can tell you my head canon, but this is just my head canon. So take it with a grain of salt. But it doesn't look like any of that wreckage is where it used to be anyways. So I can believe that this man did have a vault and that it might have just landed right next to that chamber on its way down. So maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure. That's my own head canon though. Um, in terms of like, yeah, aligning it, like I said, I didn't really put anything in there because I didn't really want to say one way or the other, like why. I don't want to call attention to something. I'm just here to like, support what the filmmakers and creatives have already created. So I just do my best to support like that content. So that was kind of like the way that I approached it. But I hope you enjoyed my headcanon.
It wouldn't be Wikipedia if someone didn't have a question that was super hyper specific. So,
Yes.
um, something else someone wanted to touch on briefly was Jason, what was your thought process for some of the locations that you decided to put on the map? Because there's a lot of like droids references and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about it a little in talking about Naboo. I mean, it's looking for kind of new stories that you can fit in, always naturally, not trying to shoehorn things in. Like, I think I added there are all these people in the Outlander Club doing various kind of sketchy things. And so, we were able to add in a little Jedi Survivor reference there. And that just feels very natural. I mean, if you're learning 180 stories in a sleazy nightclub, there are 100 more you didn't get to. So you can always do that. Um, yeah, I just, one of the principles I've had in dealing with continuity, et cetera, is that every story is somebody's favorite. So, whether it's dealing with kind of tricky things and how to make sense of them or looking for something to slot in, I always like to look for a way to do that and make sure that somebody sees something that makes them really happy. If they're willing to, get out their magnifier and put in the work.
I should have added one more word to my sentence. The galaxy map locations that you
Ah,
managed to put
oh,
in all the like droids
oh
animated
yeah.
series references and stuff. I don't know
Oh,
if you
sure, sure, sure. Oh God, give me a galaxy map question. That's a terrible mistake. No, it's for this one because it was a chance to take that celebration map, and then we are putting it in a book that included the entire the entire Star Wars saga. So that was really a chance to kind of step back. And so, basically you want all your movie locations. We want, and then, something that has changed in the last recent years is, there's so much Star Wars storytelling on TV now. Starting with Clone Wars, but now, I mean, oh my God, if I made the list, I'd miss like half of them, which is just a testament to what an incredibly fertile period this is. But I had that in mind when I was like going through the stories and trying to get their major locations in. And from there, it was just a logical step. Like, hey, you can watch the Droids episodes on Disney Plus. They're there. Tons of people love them. They're lots of people's favorite stories from a certain time. So, why not tip the cap to them and include those locations? I thought it was a fun thing to do. But also, like I said, it wasn't jammed in there. It fit with the overall theme of what we were doing for the map.
It's really interesting. And I guess the design of the map would kind of change based on the theme of the book because a lot more High Republic locations were on the Acolyte one versus this one. So it kind of just evolves.
Yeah, something we've talked about with the maps is, we now have maps on StarWars.com, which is wonderful, and looking to update those. But kind of thinking about that online map as sort of a, here's the galaxy, here are important places, and that of course will reflect, new storytelling, et cetera, as we get new places to place. But saving kind of historical perspectives, et cetera, for publishing projects. Like it feels like that's more where they make sense. So yeah, something like Acolyte Visual Guide, that was a great chance to say, here's not explicitly, but pretty close, kind of a High Republic era look at space, and then a chance to put the various occlusion zones in there. So fun to do, but a little mildly terrifying. I'm like tracing sectors and hoping I got them right and didn't miss anything. But that's the way it always is with these projects. And you've got a great team at Lucasfilm and DK, helping you out to make sure there's a net in case you slip.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of speaking on visual guides, I'd love to pivot to another question for you, Emily. How would you say the difference is between writing a location-based book, like Complete Locations, versus working on something more like Dawn of Rebellion, the visual guide, which is a lot more character focused, I guess?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I guess the way I think about approaching these projects is just like doing research papers and stuff. So it really takes me back to like college years and whatnot, and just having to submit an essay every week or so to the editors. But in terms of like yeah, like getting my head in the right space for each of these different um, projects. With the locations one, I actually got to write the blurbs for each of the eras that were featured in the book, and I think that really helped me like level set because I hadn't really thought about the story in the form of locations. Like I really like obviously like the locations are so important and I do think about them, but I never thought to like think of the whole Skywalker saga or the whole Star Wars universe like from that perspective of like what did this one planet experience or like what did the whole galaxy experience in comparison. So in that way like it just like gave me a lot of different perspective, I guess, and how to like approach the rest of the book, which I didn't necessarily do with the Dawn of Rebellion because it was just the one era that we were focusing on. And we were just focusing on, the stuff that was happening within that era. So, yeah, it was just kind of like this learning experience of like, what headspace do I need to be in? And like sometimes that means I need to be Obi-Wan and sometimes that means I need to be Mustafar and like that's how it like differentiates from project to project.
With reference books that are written by two people, it can often be it's kind of meshed together and we don't really know who wrote what. I'd love if you could highlight a couple of your favorite sections other than Obi-Wan that you worked on for that.
For Dawn of Rebellion for
Yes.
oh
Well,
sure.
yeah, for that one because we don't really know who wrote what in that one, so I'd love to hear a few highlights.
I only wrote for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show in Dawn of Rebellion, so just that section is me, and then the rest of it was Pablo. So I there was also the first time I had been like a published author, I guess. So that was really exciting. But I think that it was also like a really cool like little nugget that I got to work on. They gently introduced me to the world of writing and sending things to your editors and whatnot, which was really kind. I appreciated that experience, and yeah, I mean for this book, I would love to say that I could just list you off all the planets that I did or all the locations, but alas, my brain
Um,
is not that strong at all at times.
it is such a
But
Wikipedia
yeah,
question, but it doesn't mean that we could more appropriately credit you for Dawn of Rebellion. Unlike, well, you and Paul make the separation on some of those, so
for sure.
do appreciate it. But to pivot again to kind of those wide-spanning reference books that have covered long periods of time. Sorry if you can hear the thunder outside. Jason, a bit ago you did work with several other authors on the Battles That Changed the Galaxy book. And that is one that Wikipedia's had a lot of discussion about because it is somewhat framed as in universe, as if someone is talking about all of this and writing it in universe. That there's someone in the galaxy doing that, but also not quite. I'm curious if you could talk about that a bit because we were we've heard from Chris Kempshall that it kind of was written in universe like Rise and Fall and a couple of the other books like that, but it also just quite isn't there. So I was curious if you had anything to say about that.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of soft in universe, I would say. I mean, I thought one thing that Chris did, I mean, Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire feels like it has a real point of view, which I thought was a great way to approach that. And you know that's I would argue not there in Battles That Change the Galaxy. That's not a fault. It's just a difference. But you know, I do think it's also it's tougher with multiple authors. It would be tough to all write to a very specific voice. That's where, you know, something like Chris's project works so well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the most useful thing for the in-universe perspective is frankly when the storytelling is still moving or you know it's kind of a no-go zone because something's going to happen. Like, you know, it's really convenient and also I think reads better to be able to chalk things up to like you know, historians are still debating the key points of, you know, of Connispex's crusades or what have you. Like it's a really it's a clever out that leaves space for the future, which is great.
Yeah, it's such a Wikipedia question because we're essentially
We love
considering,
Wikipedia questions.
well, whether we would say a book written about Battles of the Galaxy was written by this point in in the history section. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
fair to say or if it's not fair to say, but no.
we feel your pain.
Yeah. Well,
Yes, these publishing decisions like they sometimes send dominoes going down in ways that are really interesting to see.
hopefully some other future book will say that there was, but that actually happened with the Skywalker Family at War one. It got retroactively turned into an in-universe book, so
Hmm.
that's all right, let's see. I think it's just me stalling. Sorry, cat is wandering over there. Um, um, I'd love if you both, to end it off, kind of, would talk about one of your favorite experiences working on Star Wars as a franchise as a whole. Something maybe your thoughts on how it's been rewarding to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's always interesting answering like a question like this because like Star Wars is so special to so many people, so I love hearing everyone's different answers to questions like this. Um, for me, a project. I've uh been working. So obviously, as an author, I've only been working for a couple years now, but I've been working with Lucasfilm for almost 10. And I think something that's been really exciting to me was the High Republic era and just seeing it form. Um, it I kind of came in at a time where that was just starting, and um, it was just really cool to see what we were gonna do in a time period that like nothing was really set in. So like what stakes do you put in the ground, and like how do you define it, and like what how does it connect to the rest of the galaxy, or like why are we telling these stories? So getting to like be part of that and like see it come to life, and we've brought together so many amazing authors and creatives to create the High Republic, and it's expanded into it's referenced in our Jedi Survivor game, and it's obviously you see it in the Acolyte, and it's really cool just to see like what almost like a grassroots effort within a large company can look like. So yeah, that was really rewarding, I guess, to see. And it's crazy that it's all come to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got to create a first order laundry form, which still just boggles my mind. It was for Studio Fun. It's one of the I think it's the Rose Tico Resistance Fighter book. But they're in the laundry room on the Mega Star Destroyer. And so, I'm thinking about it, in this highly regimented military society, they're gonna have forms for that. And we had, these kind of real world additions to that book that you could look at and enjoy. So I think I was on book tour, so I grabbed one of the, laundry forms from the hotel I was staying in, which you never use unless you have money to set fire to, because it's just extortionate. But that gave me the format, and then I took it home and thought about like all the military gear and the regular gear, and then what would be the symbols, what would be the turnaround time, and then you know put on some vaguely fascist finger wagging about like cleanliness and order and stuff. And but I remember thinking about that while I'm like thinking like, does this scan to be a galaxy far, far away laundry form? I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to do this. This is such an incredibly fun, bizarre, strange way to spend an afternoon. But moments like that happen all the time, and you kind of say, I'm getting to work on Star Wars, and you pinch yourself.
Yeah. It's funny to like be like, oh, I was paid to like create that locker.
I was paid to create a first order laundry form. What a world.
Well, I wanted to thank you both so much for sitting down with us today. Wikipedia appreciates all that you do and all that all Star Wars creators do. Hope that we've been of use to you at some point. And thank you so much. And if there's anything else that you'd like to talk about with your upcoming projects or future works, feel free to say.
No, thanks for
um,
having us, and we definitely appreciate all you do. It's invaluable and such an amazing testament to this fan base, and I'm grateful for it every day.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you're curious about more locations or whatnot and whatnot, go to starwars.com and check out the galaxy map that we just put up there. That's my plug.
Thank you for that.
Anytime.